I'm Bill the Geek, broadcasting not live from Iguana Park, Mazatlan. This is the Bill Dallas Lewis channels, and we make videos about the joys of living in Mexico. About a year ago, we had my immigration attorney, Alvaro. He's helped so many of my subscribers get their 1 year, 2, 3 year visas, their permanent visas, maybe 100, 200 people. So I contacted him last week and I wanted him to share with us what was going on with immigration in 2023. I asked him to come up with a list of the most important things people should be thinking about if they're thinking about living in Mexico or moving to Mexico or getting their visas. What were the important issues to consider in 2023? Alvaro came up with 10 issues that people really need to consider. He's very thorough. This video is about 35 minutes long, and he's very detailed, so you have to bear with him. And I think at the very end of the video, I ask him, well, what did I not ask that I should have asked? And he brings up a very strange situation that saved somebody a lot of money, but you really want to watch all the way through to the end of the video. Again, Alvaro has helped hundreds of my subscribers get visas. All of his contact information is below in the description, with his phone number, his cell phone number, his office number, his address, and even his email address. He's a great guy. So let's go see what Alvaro has to say about immigration 2023. Yes. Good morning, Alvaro.
Good morning, Bill. How are you today?
Very good. How are you doing?
Fine. I can't complain. Well, I can complain, but I should not.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm so happy to be with you today.
Gracias.
The last time we got together was about 1.5 years ago, and so many things have changed with immigration. And I think that you have helped like 100 or 200 of my members get their visas, and these people are so happy with you, and they say, oh yes, I contacted Alvaro and he did this and he did that, and now I have my visa, and these people are happy. They are happy.
Gracias.
Oh,
Gracias,
you helped.
gracias.
And I know that these people are happy to see you today. So I have these questions that
Okay.
have been bothering me for so long, and I want to ask you some questions, and I hope you have the answers.
Okay. Okay. So please let me know.
Well, Alvaro,
Uh-huh.
how has the process to obtain a visa to live in Mexico, how has that changed over the last couple of years?
Well, I guess when we talked the first time, and let me rethink a little bit. I guess it was October 2020. We were at the end of the lockdown, I believe. So it's been probably 2 years. But what changed during lockdown was that before that, even a person who was willing to get a visa to come to live to Mexico could maybe walk into a consulate and go and apply. During lockdown, all the consulates were forced to close, and they had to have limitations for people attending to the consulate. So they all went forced to do online appointments and things like that. There were pretty interesting experiments like the one that happened in Seattle, because they were taking applications via email and then replying to people and giving Zoom interviews. And then once they were sure that people may apply, they have an appointment. So trying to people not to attend in person that much. So basically, right now, in the past couple of years, things went back a little bit by bit to normal. and every consulate now has decided what system to use. So now we can say it's a little bit crazy because, for instance, I have consulates like Philadelphia, Boston, New York City, and even our consulate attached to the embassy in Washington, D.C. They have their own calendar. You go into their website and you click, and there is like a Google Calendar that they have, and they have openings many times. And I have some other consulates that remain using the website that has changed name at the time. 2 years ago, the website used to be called Mexitel. Now the website is called citas, sr.gov.mx, is C A
Oh,
citas, C A or C I, C I, like this.
see, CITAS, citas, and that means meetings.
Yeah, at sre.gov.mx. That's the website, right?
Hold it there. Don't move. Don't move. Let the people see it. I think you're good. I think you're good. Yes, we see
Okay.
it. Very
So
good.
basically, in that website, some consulates open appointments there. You can register in there and you can go, but it's a chase because in that website we have all the embassies and all the consulates. So we have over 80 embassies around the world, and we have over 50 consulates just in the U.S. So some consulates open appointments there. And I had consulates that were really nice, like Laredo in the border. Uh, and they used to open like appointments today for the next 4 weeks, and they used to grant like 5 or 6 appointments per day.
Okay.
Or I have other consulates like Sacramento, and they open appointments today for next week, but they open only 1 appointment per day. So those go fast. So you have to start. And for instance, we are just dealing right now, we're trying to get appointments for people at Indianapolis, and they are requesting just by email. We are requesting in Seattle again, and they say they have a long list. So everyone, the thing here is you need to consider that a consulate has like a jurisdiction too. For instance, me in a Mexican living in Guadalajara, if I want to get a visa to go to the United States, I need to go to the U.S. consulate in Guadalajara. So for instance, right now, the Mexican consulate in Portland, Oregon, in Seattle, Washington, in LA, in California, they say we're only taking people who actually live in our area. So sometimes, for instance, the LA Mexican consulate is requiring like a utility bill to prove that you are a resident to their area. So we have all those different things going on. My best advice and what I would like to close this question and try to explain that this kind of thing has changed a lot to get a visa at consulates, mostly because they are having many applications. We have a lot of people who's willing to move to Mexico, and they are facing all these situations. And in terms of down here, for instance, we're trying to go paperless. Probably you will remember that usually when you come as a tourist, you get a little paper form called an FMM, a Immigration Multiple Form. So now Guadalajara, my city, is going with the pilot to go paperless. So in the past 2 months, we have been receiving people here without getting this FMM. And we need this FMM to complete the process of the issuance of the residency card down here. So now we have to scan the passport and provide all this information, and we are able to create this form online right now. Eventually, apparently, that is going to happen nationwide. And the other part that has changed a lot is that the immigration down here, which is the one that completes the process, once you went to get your visa at the consulate, once you enter Mexico with that new visa, because you will be becoming a resident, you go to immigration in a certain period of time and you submit so they can exchange the visa and give you the actual residency card. So in that sense, immigration made some significant administrative improvement. They haven't changed the law, they haven't changed the regulation, but they forced themselves in certain cities like Guadalajara, Mexico City, probably Cancun, apparently Manzanillo, not certain about the rest. They give you an appointment and they take you, and within 30 minutes, they reply to your process, and then they send you to the fingerprint and picture area. And apparently, in about 1 hour, you walk out with your new residency card.
No.
Yeah, that has been happening. But the thing is, now the law says that you need to go and apply in the place where you will be living. You move to Chapala, you go to the Chapala Immigration Office. Chapala Immigration Office does not have the equipment, so they still taking 3 to 4 weeks because they need to process, and then when the time comes, you go and do fingerprints, and they have to send everything to Guadalajara. So that takes a couple of weeks. But we have been receiving a lot of petitions from people saying, "Oh, I want to get my residency. Get me an appointment, and I want to go 24 hours to Guadalajara to do that." And what if we have a problem with the system? And second, we have been taking people, and these people actually is not willing to live in Guadalajara. Sometimes people is getting a residency because they are considering to move to Mexico within the next 4 years. So sometimes I believe that things get a little bit rushed. But yes, all those kind of things have changed recently. This one-day service is not available in many places, and I recommend try to do that when you're coming to live to the state of Jalisco, at least, or if you're coming to Mexico, or if you city, or if you're going to Cancun. But for the rest, probably it takes time to consider that if you are willing to move to Mexico, take the time to spend a few days down here and complete your immigration process. We are glad to help, but sometimes it's a lot of complications to try to get that really fast done. And also let us know what are your plans. We can try to coordinate. Okay, if instead of 3 weeks, maybe we can try to make it short to 2 weeks, that would be, but one-day trips, that is a little bit complicated.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
For you to help people, do they have to be in the Guadalajara, Chapala, Ajijic area, or what if somebody is moving to Mazatlan? Can you help those people?
Not really. I don't have
Okay.
a team that will go those places.
Mhm.
I have contacts that may be able to help probably in Mexico City or in Monterrey, because I work with 2 other law firms here in
Okay.
Guadalajara, and they may have contacts that may help you process there. We have done that in Monterrey recently and in Mexico City. But that would be the case, right? But
Okay.
not in all the places. For instance, if people says, okay, Tijuana would be really complicated because it's 3 hours flight from Guadalajara.
Okay.
But in some other places like Mexico City and Monterrey, most likely I would be able to recommend. And we also have contacts in Mérida.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Mazatlan would be my next. Now that you're living in Mazatlan, would be interesting. Actually, I have relatives in Mazatlan. Mazatlan would be a good place to go and open new fields.
Oh, very good. And I have a second bedroom and a second bathroom. You could come down here, have your own bedroom and bathroom, and be ready to go.
Gracias. Muchas gracias.
De nada. Okay, I have another question. I've been thinking about this a lot because the money has really changed as far as getting a visa and what you need. What is the income required in 2023 to move to Mexico? And I guess that means to get a visa, right?
Yes. Yeah, there is many ways in which you can get a visa to come to live to Mexico. For instance, if you have a job offer from a company that is settled here, or if you're married to a Mexican, or if you have a Mexican-born child, all those ways would get you a residency. But most of the people that I guess you have in your channel and that I work with is people who's willing to move, and they are not in this position. Most of people apply through financials, so that's what they need to take to the consulate to apply. And when they go to the consulate, that's another thing that it's not changed. It's been always in the law, in the regulation. When you go and you when you go to the consulate, you must provide those financials, but the regulation says that you need to bring originals. And what is an original? An original was a statement that you usually got via regular mail, which people do not get anymore. So now what consulates are doing in many, many ways is they are asking people to go to their financial institution before coming into the consulate, so they get a verification letter stating that the owner of this account is this and this and this person. There, if you have like middle names, probably in that letter they can specify that the middle letter the middle name or the letter in the middle of your name stands for your middle name, which actually is this and that. And we recommend people that if you are bringing 6 months or 12 months of statements to your consulate interview, print out those statements for the past 6 or 12 months and get those stamped and signed by your bank. So those will be originals again.
Okay.
And the income, about the income that consulates use is based on our minimum wage. So people, do not feel discouraged by the fact that income requirements have gone up. The thing is, minimum wage has been always used in Mexican economy to measure a lot of things, a lot of fines, a lot of payments, a lot of government fees are calculated in certain amount of times the minimum wage. Also the visa requirement. What we have seen in the past 4 years with this government, remember, compared to the United States and Canada, in Mexico, we do not earn money per hour. We earn money per day. And it's called a journey of work, which is 8 hours per day. And that's the minimum wage. The minimum wage is supposed to cover your 8 hours of work per day. Minimum wage in Mexico was 76 pesos when this government started in 2018. So that is 3.5 US dollars for 8 hours of work.
Ooh.
So what this government has been doing, it's raising and raising and raising the minimum wage, trying to forcing to employers to pay this new wage, and that has been going up more than 100% in the past 4 years. So that went from 76 pesos to 174. So that's why the raise in the amounts required to live in Mexico. So it's not against new residents, is trying to improve the quality of life of Mexicans. Said that, the requirement right now, based on those minimum wage, for instance, if you're willing to get a temporary resident in 2020, they are asking $2,600 of income or pension or social security per month in order for you to qualify for temporal. The other formula that you have, instead of showing income, is that you show that you have savings, investments during the past 12 months. And that savings or investments need to be no less than 42 or 43,000 US dollars in savings in the past 12 months. Key, not that you have 1 month 100,000 and then you took out everything and left nothing, and the next month you put another 100,000. Has never to be less than 43,000. Always. That has to be your less balance ever in the past 12 months. Same situation with permanente. The amounts go up. Instead of 2,600 for temporal, you need 4,000 a month as social security or pension or income. But the permanente is only for people who is retired, that they can prove that they are retired. And how do you prove that? With your social security letter, showing that you receive some benefits. Okay, my social security is only 2,000, but I have a private pension. It's another 2,000. Okay, then you're good to go. Or instead of that, you can show the 12 months of statements showing that you have savings or investments, but those in 2022 need to be over 172 grand. Okay, we don't have the prices yet for 2023. That is on the federal budget that it's about to be passed during this month. But what I have been checking on the press is that minimum wage most likely will go up 15% for next year. So if we have 173 pesos of minimum wage in 2022, just calculate, it will end up probably around 200 pesos or 190 something, right? That might be the increase that we might be facing in January of next year.
Okay. So all of the, for every year, if you have a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year, and down here in Mazatlan, they have 4-year visas, and then they go permanente. Each one of those is a different price, isn't it? Or is it all
yeah.
the same?
No, yeah. But you get a temporal and you initially get 1 year. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
At the end of the first year, you can apply for, you need to apply for renewals, and they have different prices. If you, for instance, right now, you come as a temporal and you need to get 1 year. The issuance of that card is 4,739 pesos. The next year, when it's time for you to renew, you can buy another year.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can buy 2 years in a row, or
Mm-hmm.
you actually can buy 3 years in a row, right? For instance, 1 year renewal, it's another 4,739. But if you want to buy 2 years in a row, it's 7,100. Or if you want to buy 3 years in a row, it's 8,993, almost 9,000 pesos. Sorry.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
Excuse me. So, so for a 2 year, a 3 year, and I think a 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year, I think you said on the 3 year, to jump up to that level is going to cost you like 8,000 pesos.
9,000 almost. Yes.
No, okay, so 9,000 pesos. Okay, so that's like $450.
Yes, but that's a
Okay.
good deal because 1 year only is almost 5,000, and you pay 3 years in a row, and it's
Pesos.
gonna be pesos, and it's
Mhm.
going to be 9,000 pesos. So for 4,000 pesos more, you will get 3 years of validity in your temporary residency instead of 1 year only. So it's a good deal. I always advise my clients that if they have completed their first year of temporal and it's time for renewal, they buy 3 years, and that's fine, because at the end of this second card, valid for 3 years, you will have a total of 4 years, and with that you can apply for permanente and you don't need to show financials anymore. So
Ah.
this is a key point or a tip for people. Don't get discouraged if you are hitting for the permanente and you are turning it down. The worst case scenario might be that you are only given a temporal, but that's it. You get 1 year, then you make your renewal, get 3 years in your renewal. At the end of the total 4 years, you apply for permanente. You are grandfathered to permanente without showing financials. So
Oh,
that's it.
that's wow. Wow, that's amazing news. Well,
Yes.
okay, now another question I've been losing sleep over is how difficult is it to get a visa to live in Mexico? Is it difficult? How difficult is it?
Well, those things I'm sorry, those things are the ones that people ask me if it's difficult. I would say that it's really not difficult. People say that things that consulate require vary from consulate to consulate. No, basically what varies are the financials in terms of some amounts, because some consulates use like a different exchange rate, but basically it's the same. Once you get an appointment at a consulate, things that you need to take there are always the same. Is your appointment confirmation, is your passport with a copy of that, your application, a picture, make a payment of $48. That's the price for 2022, and your financial statement. That's it. Of course, all those are the details that you need to know about it. But yes, it's not that difficult. What it might be complicated is getting a hold of the consulates or getting the appointment and putting together the financials. But it's really not that. The application is really simple. The application only has your address, phone number, the documents that you will be providing, and the data from your passport, and that's it. So it's not that difficult.
Okay, okay. So, how far in advance should I apply for a visa?
Okay, this is interesting. Some consulates, like Seattle, may take 3 months to get you an appointment and process it. Some other consulates, like Sacramento, you need to be ready because if you go today online and you find appointments, it may be for next week. So it depends on which. But my best shot or my best is that you start addressing this topic 3 or 4 or 5 months before you're planning to move down here, because we get all sorts of requests. People emailing me saying, I want you to start helping me to get an appointment because I'm planning to move to Mexico 6 months from today or 1 year from today. But I also get emails saying, oh, I want an appointment for November 21st. Well, that might be complicated. So I always recommend like 3 to 4 months before, so we can start looking for, and if we cannot try to fit you into the consulate that you are willing to go, when probably we can make you some choices so you can travel and try to apply at a different consulate. Okay.
Okay, now we're talking about appointments with consulates. Well, how
Ah,
difficult is it to get an appointment for a visa with a Mexican consulate? How difficult is that?
it can be a little bit. We were talking about the differences in going through the website or emailing them or giving a call. Something that I would say is try not to call them. It would be really difficult. You can get a hold of somebody. Uh, it would be electronically. So it's difficult. It's not impossible, but it might be a little bit difficult. I would advise some places, as I said, we have been working recently with Indianapolis. They reply all the time, like some other places. Many, it depends which kind of visas. For instance, I recall that Toronto has been always a pretty crowded place. Chicago also, but Chicago has been having openings recently, so it might be a little bit complicated. Some other point that I would like to mention: once you visit the consulate, you have 180 days to come to complete down here. So you visit the consulate today, November 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So they grant you the visa, and is one of those good, really good places where you get the visa within 2 hours. So your visa is going to be good from November 11, 2022 to December, January, February, March, April, May 2023. Meaning that from today till May 11, 2023, you need to come to Mexico. And once you're here, submit the paperwork so you can uh, get the visa exchange by the actual residency card. People get scared because the regulation says that once you get into Mexico, you have 30 days to submit the paperwork. That is to submit, not that the process needs to be fully completed within the 30 days. It's only to submit. Once we submit, we still have other legal uh, take time frame for them to respond. Actually, from the day you submit the paperwork, immigration has legally 20 working days to reply. That's 4 weeks. And that's the part that I was talking before about the administrative change they did. They decided that they can process things fast, but it depends on the office that you are applying at. As I said, some places may take the 1 day option because they are making them work like that, but not all the offices work like that. Okay.
Okay. Now this is a kind of a strange question for me. Maybe you can help me with this, but the question
Okay.
is, I am a resident alien in
Uh-huh.
the US or Canada.
Uh-huh.
Can I apply for these last two to get a visa to live in Mexico?
Yes, as long as you have a permit, a current and good standing permit to live in those countries. I mean, if you have a green card to live in the US, you can apply, but it will be required to you when you go to the Mexican consulate to prove that you have the residency permit to live in the US or in Canada. Those are requirements. But yes, it's required also because we have had a couple, for instance, I had a person from Ukraine recently willing to go back to Europe and needed a specific something to enter those countries. They said, we only can give you a visa to travel back to Spain unless you are a resident in Mexico. Same situation. If you are eventually willing to come to Mexico, you need to be a resident in the US so you can apply at a Mexican consulate over there.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, well, so how long does the process, or how long is the process to get a visa exchanged take in Mexico?
Oh, it was what I just explained.
Oh,
Usually,
okay.
for instance, in Chapala, it may be 3 to 4 weeks, but we can try to short that a little bit. But it usually Chapala, for instance, you submit today, and probably within 3 days, 4 days, they may respond. We then go and request for an appointment for doing the fingerprints. And then once the fingerprints are taken, they will take about another week and a half, 2 weeks to have their card ready for you. So we always tell people 3 to 4 weeks to apply. In Guadalajara, if people tells me, probably we can go and apply within the same day. But then, as I said, if I go and I believe and I tell people that they go and apply in Guadalajara, at some point somebody's gonna say, it's gonna raise an eyebrow and say, huh, how many people do you have living in Airbnbs?
Oh, really?
No, not that they're gonna say it. Eventually, I know they will realize and they will say, hey, Alvaro, you have been telling that a lot of people lives here and they actually don't live here.
Oh,
That's something that comes to my mind when
okay.
immigration. But eventually, you are a resident, and we know that residents may move from one place to another easily, as you relocated in Mazatlan.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, okay. So what is the best thing to have? I have a permanent visa. I've had a 1 year, I've had a 2 year, now I'm permanent, and it was such a good feeling. I was with you at the immigration office in Chapala, and
Uh
the
huh.
lady and the nice lady behind the counter, she gave me my permanent visa, and she says, and there's no renewal date. Okay, and I like that,
Yes.
but what is best, the temporal or the permanent?
It depends on what you need, and it depends what you prefer, and of course, what you can afford. If you are retired and you have the required income and you don't want to make renewals, then you can go for permanent. But if you are willing to move down here and for the first couple of years you may be taking a couple of trips to the US or Canada and you're willing to drive your truck and then I recommend a temporal because a permanente is not entitled to bring a foreign plate car. So that might be. Or actually, I have a client who got 4 years on a temporal, and at the end of the 4 years, he liked his truck so bad that he actually dropped on the temporal and went to reapply for a new one instead of going permanente, and got the new 4 years for his temporal and his truck. So, but that's an idea. So, as I said, you may be willing temporal, but you're not collecting Social Security yet. Don't worry. You eventually will become a permanente after 4 years of living as temporal, and no problem. One another thing, in many countries, also in the United States, it's important by law that if you are a resident, you need to spend some time in the country per year, like 6 months every year, things like that. In Mexico, we don't have that. So you can be a temporal, and there is no that you need to be here for 3 years or for 6 months every year in order for you to keep that current. You can get it, stay here 1 month, then leave for 10 months, and then come back another month to renew a year later. So that's it. So we don't have those kind of restrictions in terms of that.
Okay, very good. Okay, I have one more question, and I think you answered my last question. I've been thinking about this question, but I think you just answered it. Do I have to stay all the time in Mexico while the last part of my process is taking place? Oh, now that's a different thing. That's a different thing than what you were talking about. Do I have to stay all the time in Mexico while the last part of my immigration visa is taking place?
When you go to the consulate, then you travel down here with your visa, and we start the process. We go and submit it, and we have a lot of people who says, I need to go back. I want to. There is one process in the law. It's a traveling letter saying you can go and submit, show that you're traveling, and they can give you a traveling letter. But with all this administrative improvement, trying to make things go faster, immigration has been really reluctant to give those kind of permits. Plus, we have a very narrow window to apply for it. I go and submit the paperwork. As I said, Guadalajara may solve the paperwork within 1 day, trying to have your card in 1 day or the next day or 2 days. They don't want a traveling letter for you to travel, so they don't like to issue that for you. In Chapala, even if they still take time, it's only between the time of submission and the time they send you an email saying your process has been approved. And remember, Chapala may take some time after you do the fingerprints to send information and get the cards printed. But at that time, it's considered that the paperwork has been fully approved and you are not able to get a traveling letter. So it is advisable that people have the time to come and stay here while we process everything. That would be the answer to that. That it's better if you prove that you need to return, it's okay. But they will ask you for flight schedule and things like that, and it's applying and it's making more payments. So they are a little reluctant to that. So it's better just to coordinate and have the time to come and apply and stay and wait for the card to be ready, and then you can leave. That would be the answer. I don't know.
Okay. Now we've been talking for we've only been talking for about 30 minutes now, but did anything come to mind while you were talking that you want to tell people about before we finish here?
You mean something extra that I would like to say?
Yes, it's something that maybe came to mind or something, because people are going to watch this and for what it's worth, all of Alvaro's contact information is in the description below. You can contact him directly. He's helped so many of our people out. But does anything else come to mind that you would like to say?
Well, in terms of the process, I believe we still friendly country to come. Something that I would like to say. We have a program. We really don't know when or how that was created last year. It's a little bit irregular. It's like something that in the US as amnesties program. It's like when you have people who's living undocumented in one country that enter the country and then they overstayed. So they created a program, but it's a little bit irregular. People apply for that because they enter like before 2018 or 2019 and overstayed, and they have those expired documents. So in that case, they extended that to people who have been tourists in Mexico a few times before 2020. So we have had a lot of people who live in our area who have been here many times, and we were able to help them. So that avoid them a trip back to a consulate, getting an appointment. But immigration is telling us, if you are willing to apply for that, you're going to pay me the 4 years of temporal right away. We really don't know if the program will remain a lot. It was implemented on mid-2021, and then it was extended for 2022. We don't know if that may work next year, but we will let you know if it's still, because that actually it's a little bit easier.
Yes,
But it's a little bit expensive because all the associated fees to it are about $1,000, but a lot of people has used that.
yes, and two people told me this in Mazatlan.
Yeah.
Their tourist visa ran out, and they met with like an attorney, and the attorney says, okay, we can get you a 4-year visa, but it's going to cost you like 9,000 pesos.
Well, actually, the fee, just the fee for 4 years is above 10,000 pesos. It's actually 10,658 just for that. Apart from that, you need to pay a submission fee. And apart from that, there will be a fine for the expired documents. So it's about 14,000 pesos on my fee. That's why I say $1,000. But around that, but it's good because you get a temporal 4 years. You save the trip back to the US or Canada. You don't have to show financials if you do not qualify. And that is a benefit. Initially was created for people who stayed, like people from El Salvador or Guatemala or Colombia or Peru. But now we have a lot of US and Canadians who have been using it. So it might be another option.
Oh, I'm glad
but we still don't know still when that is going to be in effect.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, Alvaro, I know that many of my subscribers, you've helped them out so much, and talk to my cousin. Her name is Tulsi Zimmer, and you helped her out. And we were talking about. Yes, recently, and she was so happy with you, and so many of my clients are so happy with you. And again, all of his contact information is in the description below. He's helped me out. He's helped me get like 3 visas. but that's all we have. I want to say thank you very much.
Gracias a ti.
And I hope this video brings you much more business, and we'll talk to you maybe in another year, and you can update us on 2024.
Glad to do so. Hope to be here, willing to be here, and hope I also get a couple of more assistant attorneys if we have many of you trying to work. And I'm happy I have been around for the past 15 years in Lakeside and in Guadalajara. I was a former public government official. I worked for the State Department, but we're happy to work, and we're here. And you can see it's 1 p.m. in Guadalajara. It's nice and sunny. It's inside my office, and it's nice. So we'll be glad, and thank you for taking the time of doing this exercise today.
Okay, thank you, Alvaro. Adios.
Gracias, hasta luego.
Leave a comment, tell us what you think, and please click the like button and think about clicking that subscribe button. We go live every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, and we talk about the joys of living in Mexico. And if you would like to be on the show and be a guest, email me at my email address and we can get you on the show. So click the subscribe button and you'll get a notification. Thank you so much for joining us. We're glad to share information with you. We have many more videos to come. Click that subscribe button and we'll see you in the next video.